All right, folks, welcome to another weekly Manchester United show. Of course, I'm Phil, as always, joined here with the fantastic Martin Walwork. He joins me every week to do this weekly United show. Thank you to all of you for downloading the show, for following us, subscribing on YouTube. Numbers are growing, unbelievable. Martin, how's things, mate?
Superb, mate. How are you doing?
Can't complain. Not too bad. It's licensed Sunday afternoon here in Southern California. We don't get too many of these. But folks, as I was saying, thank you so much for all of you who take the time to subscribe to the show, to download the show. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel, Beyond the Pitch. People ask me all the time, how can they support the show? The best way you can support Beyond the Pitch and what we do, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, the Beyond the Pitch channel on YouTube. Follow our Twitter account, Beyond the Pitch Twitter account, our Facebook page, all that stuff, folks. I know it's a pain in the arse. Take a minute and do it, because it really does help us an awful lot. So thanks to all of you, and thanks to all of you for your tweets, your messages, your feedback. Today, we will get into the Stoke match. We'll take a look at that. We'll get into Anthony Martial's exclusion and why he wasn't in the United squad. We'll discuss the Depay transfer deal. Was it a good deal for United? Was it smart? Was it too soon? What about the mechanics of the deal? We'll talk about Wayne Rooney's record. How do people value that record? Maybe history will be the judge. I don't know. And then, of course, we'll get into your questions that you've sent us on YouTube, on Twitter. So, Martin, long-winded start down, mate. But we'll start at Stoke, mate. What's your take on that one each?
Two ways to look at it, isn't there? I mean, it's 2 points dropped for certain. Again, on a weekend where City or Spurs or both were going to drop points, which they both did. On a weekend where Liverpool played before us and dropped points. So it was another big opportunity to make up some ground, get closer. So very disappointing. On the flip side, again, we're starting to show now that we're a different Man United, and we're back to the Fergie era, in that they never say die. We are never out of games, and we're showing a fighting spirit now that was sadly lacking for the last few years. So, we got the point. Disappointed to drop the 2, but you know what? With injury time looming, I guess we've got to be pleased at least getting something out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing. As I send out this tweet really quick, so points dropped. If we have an expectation that Manchester United are in a title race, which I don't think they are, they're in a race for top 4. I think this form is good enough for top 4. I think if United were to continue to play like this for the rest of the season, they'll finish top 4. 17 games unbeaten is an incredible record for Jose Mourinho. And that's what Jose Mourinho teams do. So 17 games unbeaten, Martin, where things are starting to make its way back into United's DNA that shows all the signs are positive. Late goals, never knowing when you're beaten, continuing to hammer away. I'd be more concerned if United weren't creating chances versus creating them and missing them. There's an unbelievable profligacy at United where we just waste so many chances, and I think you have some stats on this, which are quite incredible, really.
I was talking to a few people over the weekend, and brought up exactly that. We're just so wasteful in front of goal. Now, you said your belief is that we're not in a title race, and at this point, I'm going to agree with you. But let me just read this to you. Stoke away, 1-1 draw, 25 shots.
Yeah.
Stoke at home, 1-1 draw, 24 shots.
Yeah.
Burnley at home, 0-0, 38 shots. West Ham at home, 1-1 draw, 17 shots. So 3 goals from them 4 games, 4 draws, 4 points from a possible 12, 103 shots to bring us 3 goals. Now, hard to believe that you would have that many chances not win games. You turn those games into wins, that's an additional 8 points. And where does that put us? Right in the thick of a title race. Yeah, so it's showing that form, maybe not the form, two-sided, I suppose. We're creating enough chances to be in a title race.
To me,
until we can convert those chances, we're a top 4 team.
See, to me, that shows United are really close.
Yeah.
The fact that 17 games unbeaten, we're creating chances. When I look at what I want a Manchester United team to be, I want a Manchester United team that plays exciting attacking football. This United team do that. They're not perfect. We know that. When I look at a Manchester United team, I want them to be a team that has the Fergie DNA of my teams, like real champions, keep going to the end. Psychologically, what that does to the opposition is they know they never have a United team beat. A United team that keeps going. Normally, Martin, Mourinho is really, really good with the substitutions, but once again, he left me bemused. I don't understand why he took off Mkhitaryan. Jesse Lingard was unlucky when he came on and he hit the bar. But to me, when I looked at the substitutions, they bemused me again. Rooney stuck out wide again. And I swear to God, I'll be brutally honest about this. I was just about to tweet before Rooney put that in the top corner. How many more times are we going to have to see Wayne Rooney and have this record talked about before we can just say thanks for the memories, Wayne, and move on? Because brilliant goal. It was a cross-come shot, right? That free kick. Whip it right, and if no one touches it, it goes in. But I still feel, Martin, that he doesn't offer enough, and we can get into that later. I would have kept Mkhitaryan on, who looked to me like the only player that was creating for United.
I thought he was our best player.
Yeah.
Running at people, ball at his feet. I mean, they were terrified of him. It just didn't work out in the final third for us. Poor decision-making, poor finishing. I mean, he had a chance himself. Mata had that chance.
Rashford.
Zlatan was poor. Chose pass-first option a lot of times.
I know, twice.
Which is strange for him. So certainly an off day, but he's going to have those off days. We know that. We had somebody ask us on our Twitter account there, is it concerning the amount of chances he misses? Mm-hmm. Well, yes and no. I mean, you might think that right now, but just cast your mind back to how many goals Andy Cole scored for United. You remember the goals he scored.
That allegation, that question mark also followed Andy Cole too.
Andy Cole missed so many chances, but you look back and you see how many goals he scored, and that's what you remember about him. So you won't remember the chances Zlatan misses. You'll remember the goals he scored. Concerning, somewhat. I'd be more concerned if we weren't getting ourselves in those positions to score goals. These games now, it's more like the old days. It's edge of your seat stuff at times. You know, it keeps you engaged in the game for a change. The last 3 years have been brutal. But at least we're attacking. We're attacking wave after wave after wave. But I'm with you on the substitutions. I really couldn't make sense of those substitutions yesterday.
So when you look at what United are letting go, Schneiderlin, we knew, okay, he has to go, that's fine. It's not a position United are short in. But the pie, like, he hasn't been good enough, Martin. Nowhere near good enough. Attitude-wise, United had to let him go. But the question is, are they making a mistake letting him go and not bringing somebody else in?
No, not for me. I mean, there's plenty of options within the club in that area that have proved they're going to be more crucial to our cause right now. He's simply not performing. I like the deal we did. I like the fact that we put a buyback clause in. I like the fact that we put a sell-on clause in. And it's nice to see, for a change, we're getting what we deserve for players and making sure we're covering ourselves in the event that, you know, he goes to France there and becomes the player that you and I both have the agreement. There's still a player there, and hopefully he brings it out and you know, has a successful career. Maybe it's back with us or whatever. But there's no room to keep him around right now. There's plenty of people there who are performing at a higher level. You know, if you keep him and you want to say, all right, let's give him a run in the team. Look, we're not in the business of giving somebody a run in the team to try and find some form. We can't do that. But you have to perform. You have to perform now. You have to perform when given the chance, whether it's 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 45 minutes. If we want to be where we're aiming to be, then we don't have time for that. You've got to prove yourself elsewhere, you know, on Monday to Friday on the training pitch. And, you know, if it's in the under 23s, it's in the under 23s. But
well, what it does show you, Martin, is how important attitude is. Memphis Depay, has twice the talent Jesse Lingard has.
Yes.
Memphis Depay should have been getting to the game time that Jesse Lingard was getting, but Jesse Lingard has an attitude that Memphis Depay doesn't. He's not everybody's favorite. But Jesse Lingard, and we've defended him on this show before, he's a perfect example of someone with limited talent that maximizes the most of it based on his attitude. And Mourinho likes that. Fellaini's another example of this, of a limited player that the manager, Mourinho, really likes, because as Gary Neville said about, or Philip Neville said about Fellaini, managers love him because he'll do exactly what he tells them to do. And, not everybody in United's team can be a Ballon d'Or contender. So I think it is sad that Memphis Depay, clearly a young player with immense talent, who had just one period in his United career where him and Luke Shaw looked really, really good, looked like they were building up an understanding. Luke Shaw breaks his leg, and Depay really never recovered from the Luke Shaw leg break.
No, it was a huge. It kind of killed his confidence. But it's very strange that happened right at the same time, and he really did never recover, and couldn't feature once Luke Shaw had gone down. He's had plenty of time, not plenty of opportunities. So, what can you say, really?
Okay, so the other big news that the weekend was Anthony Martial not playing. Anthony Martial was back on a plane to Paris before United kicked that match off, left out. Mourinho was really coy on why he left him out, wouldn't really say why. That's a concerning situation.
Once I found out that he was on that plane, that really did concern me, because he's been in a good run of form there. Been playing well.
Yep.
I was fully expecting to start the game, but then to find out that he's not even in the squad, and not really hear much about it, really. From all I heard from Jose wasn't selected, and didn't really push, give us any more answers to that. So.
I don't think maybe I've missed some more. And I've checked a couple of people who are quite reliable at United, to see what the backstory is on Martial. If there's something that isn't making the headlines, if United are trying to cover something else up, if there's more to this, it seems to me, and I could be completely wrong, there's no issue here where this has been a bust up on the training ground, or this has been a question about Martial's application or anything. This seems to be a decision that Mourinho made on the day and told him he wasn't playing for whatever reason, because if anything like that had happened days before, it would have got out first of all. And I think Mourinho made sure he didn't make that decision until the last minute. Most likely knew after Liverpool that he wasn't going to play him this weekend. But to be left out of the squad altogether is a message to Anthony Martial, to be telling him that is a career message. That is a message to say to Martial, you need to get your head right, or you will not be playing for this football club. And it's imperative that those messages are consistent, because it's been given to Luke Shaw as well, Martin. Luke Shaw is also facing exactly the same dilemma. These young players that have one exceptional season, that think that they can build their careers, and they don't have to be consistent anymore. The work ethic goes, the hunger goes. Depay has cost United himself. He created the football club because of this. Very important Mourinho weeds those out. I like Martial. I want him to stay. I think the boy is an immense talent. But it's far more important that Mourinho shows, this is my standard. I don't care who you are. We don't do what Van Gaal did with Rooney and say there's special concessions for certain players. You show complete commitment to this football club, play through the pain barrier, all those things, or you're out. And you can't argue Mourinho. He rarely gets this wrong.
Well, I mean, on both fronts, with Martial and with Luke Shaw, I think it's a big week, and it's going to be a career-defining week at the football club for them. If we were to not see Martial and Luke Shaw in these coming games this week, in Hull away, Wigan at home, League Cup, FA Cup, It could be. Now, I don't know any more than is out there regarding the Martial situation. For all we know, it could be something family related, and he could have said, take the weekend off, go home. He's going to feature in both this week's games, so that's always there. I certainly don't know anymore.
But we do know that Martial has question marks over his attitude.
Absolutely. I mean, he's been in a good run of form, so something has happened for him to not even be included in the squad there. With Luke Shaw, we know that Luke Shaw's been fit for some time now. A couple of weeks easy that he's been fully fit, and we've been hearing that he may be in the squad, he may not be in the squad, he may play, but we've not even seen him in the squad yet. So I find it very hard to believe that if he has a future at United and his attitude is spot on and he's fully fit, if he doesn't play this week, I'd be very, very concerned for him.
Martin, here's the thing. After the Watford game, Luke Shaw's brother went on Twitter and slammed Mourinho and then tried to delete the tweets and got caught. Was very critical of Mourinho and how he singled out Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw tried to distance himself from it. Luke Shaw played a really stupid game with Mourinho after that Watford situation when him and his advisors decided to try to garner sympathy for Shaw, and it ended up backfiring him by some of the stuff they released in the media. The thing is that Luke Shaw is a talented young player, but unfortunately, Martin, he looks really weak mentally. And see, when you're at a football club like United, when you sign for 30 million, your ability is not in question. It's about how you apply yourself mentally. Does Luke Shaw have the mental strength to be United's week in, week out left back with the type of pressure that Jose Mourinho is going to put on his players? I don't think so. And this is not the first manager to have serious problems with Luke Shaw. Martin, the most basic requirement of an athlete is, and the most basic expectation is fitness. You have to be fit. And if you're not fit, consistently not fit, that's a disgraceful situation for an athlete to be in. Luke Shaw, right after a World Cup, was singled out by Van Gaal, slaughtered by Van Gaal over his fitness. This is a kid.
Yeah.
He should be naturally fit. And he's being made to lose weight. He may have the physique of a young kid that puts weight on easily, and more to the point, more reason for him to have discipline. If you look at Mourinho keeps his players fit. Look what he's done for Phil Jones. Very rarely does his teams have long-term injury problems. Luke Shaw, if he cannot get himself fit and can't keep himself fit, then he's failing in his most basic requirement as an athlete, and that is to be in that a playable condition. Because when you're not, that's how you pick up injuries, and that's how you play beneath yourself. And I support Mourinho 100% in this, in singling out Shaw and Rooney, to be fair, and anybody else who doesn't take their fitness seriously. You don't play in my teams unless you can get the very basics right. Luke Shaw, I don't care if you cost £30 million, whatever. And so you're going to see another young lad that's going to get moved on to Tottenham or somewhere else where there's not the same pressure, and may never play at this level again.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's like I say, it's career defining at this point. I hope to see him this week. I really do. The boy's got just phenomenal ability, but there's something not quite right, and if he's not willing to get that right, if it's an attitude thing, if it's the work rate thing, if he's not willing to put it in, then move him on.
Well, there's people close to him, Martin. People around him have said that, and I am by no means saying this is correct, so please don't quote me on this. I don't know. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to move on. I don't want to talk about it. Because it's going to end up that I said this when I didn't, right? There's certain people around Luke Shaw that have said things that suggest that mentally he has some challenges. Let's just say that. And I hope, I want to choose my words really carefully on this, Martin. But I think Luke Shaw, based on no information whatsoever, just a guess, I think Luke Shaw might struggle with depression a bit. And that is maybe an area where football could do a lot better in when it comes to treating athletes with depression. I would feel sorry for the kid if he was in that situation. But there's been rumors about Luke Shaw with that type of thing before. I don't know if that's true or not. The only reason why I bring it up is because it is an important consideration when you're evaluating Shaw and his shortcomings, because if that really is an issue for him, he deserves support and sympathy over that.
Absolutely. And I really do sincerely hope that isn't the case, but certainly would explain a lot of questions.
I've also said the same with Rooney, and if he's got problems as well, deserves sympathy on that. This weekend, Martin, Wayne Rooney did break Sir Bobby Charlton's record. Question marks. Did he mean it? Did he not? That free kick was executed to perfection. This is a free kick that I'm going to swing in. If it gets a flick, it goes in. If it doesn't, it goes in.
Yep.
Cross come shot. Brilliant free kick. Really well taken. I've been Rooney's biggest critic because I've always felt like he had so much more to give. People look back on his career on the numbers and say 250 goals is an unbelievable achievement, which it is. But if you've watched Wayne Rooney intimately for the last decade and you don't think that Wayne Rooney shortchanged everybody, including himself, you haven't been watching him closely enough.
And it's sad. It's we've touched on it before, and it's this will always be. He's going to be a divisive player because is he a legend? Isn't he a legend? Should he have a?
Is he a legend to you?
Yes.
Is he not a legend?
Yes, and I've gone back and forth on this. Now I've spent the last week and listening to a good friend of ours, Danny.
So you're not sure if he's a
Higginbottom.
legend?
No, I am now.
You're not sold. No, okay.
I wasn't sold, and it was something that when talking to Danny Higginbottom on the show there, and he made me think about it in a slightly different way. He brought up the comparisons to Ronaldo and to Messi, how they're so pleasing on the eye, and it's not necessarily the dirty work that they do. And you really think about, and I agree. He's been a player in decline since probably 06, 07. And there was so much more to give. I just can't look past the 5 Premier Leagues, FA Cup, 2 League Cups, 4 Community Shields, Champions League, FIFA World Club Cup, 250 goals. Yeah, it's just I don't think you can count that out. I mean, this is a record that's never.
All right. Well, let me ask you
this.
Rooney walks away from Manchester United today. What's your defining memories of Wayne Rooney? What springs to mind when you think of Rooney at United?
The goal against Newcastle, overhead kick against City, and 250 goals, and the fact.
The goal against Newcastle was 2005 season, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was 2006-07 season. It was
right.
You're talking a decade ago.
Yeah, but I mean that's what it's gonna. That's what I think of when I think of Wayne Rooney. I think of a player who's a street footballer. I think of a player that could do a job for you in any position on the pitch.
But what I'm asking is, if you think of Solskjaer, you have a couple of moments. European Cup final. Yeah. Right. You're thinking of the FA Cup, the goal. 4 against Forest. You're thinking about the goal against Liverpool in the FA Cup. If you think of Ronaldo, right, Champions League final, right, you're thinking for me, all the greats of United, you can pick out defining moments. You can pick out this individual will forever be synonymous with this. I struggle a bit with that with Rooney. I know he scored the overhead kick with Man City, right? But I can't. I know he scored in the European Cup final when United lost against Barcelona.
You say every great has a defining quality or a defining moment. I think people will now look. You think Wayne Rooney? You think 250 goals, club and country record goal scorer? It can't be overlooked. And
no, I'm not saying like that it doesn't deserve immense credit. when I saw Rooney at 18 in the Euros 2004, my eyes dangled. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was this kid that looked 24, 25 with his physique, scored unbelievable goals. He was so raw, so brilliant, so pacey, so quick, so good. You know, his burst of pace over a couple of yards was lightning. He was magnificent, Martin. Just more rounded at that age than Ronaldo.
Oh,
Ronaldo 18 was a spindly legged, you know, magnificent raw talent. But Rooney was ahead of him at that stage. Ronaldo was pure hunger. Worked. Wanted it so bad. Rooney didn't have that. And I just feel in the final analysis, if I looked at Rooney at 21, 22, 23, would it have shocked me that he broke the goal scoring record of Bobby Charlton? No, because I felt this player was destined to do stuff like that. If he stays at United for a decade, he'll do that. But if you look at Rooney, break his career down, Martin, into two pieces, the first half and the second half. And if you look at the second half of his career, compared with the first half, there's a massive drop off.
And that's why
there's no tournament, there's no World Cup, there's no UEFA. I mean, maybe UEFA 2004, there's no World Cup, there's no European Championships, there's no tournament that he stamps that this is Wayne Rooney's tournament. Not even a Champions League.
George Best?
Well, Best was European Footballer of the Year. George Best, you know, in 67, they went 67, 68 season, went and beat Benfica 5-1 away. And you look at that, and you know, Best doesn't have a European Cup or European Championship in the World Cup.
And I say that just for argument's sake.
But if you look at the 4-1, you know, Best will always be remembered for Benfica. Same with Dennis Law, Bobby Charlton, Brian Kidd, partly because of what it meant after Munich, but I just think with Rooney, maybe he's unfortunate in that he played in United teams that weren't good enough to win European Cups. It can't just be down to him. But I don't know. For me, Martin, I just feel like magnificent football player, still capable of doing raw moments of brilliance like we saw at the weekend, like the overhead kick. Yeah. But ask him to dictate a game, to grab a game by the scruff, to do what great players do in games. He'll never do that again.
He'll never do it again. But I think we've just proved there why it's so divisive. I mean, this will always be the debate. It's going to be the stats on paper on what he's done versus what he didn't do. Because he didn't apply himself correctly throughout his career. He's 31 playing like a 35-year-old. Zlatan's 35 playing like a 28-year-old.
That's a great point.
So it's, you know, that's always going to be the flip side. But, you know, I think you're never going to be able to look over the stats. And when you look back in 10, 15 years and someone says Wayne Rooney, you're going to go record goal scorer club for Man United.
Yeah, listen, brilliant achievement, deserves huge credit. You know, probably deserves more respect than what he's getting for 250 goals.
So.
And this is a really, really important caveat, Martin. We've said this before, but it really needs to be said. If you ever meet Rooney, the likelihood is you're going to meet a really down-to-earth lad. We met him.
So generous with his time.
Lovely guy.
Left us great messages for the kid.
Yeah.
I mean, fantastic human.
When we met Rooney, I asked him to record a message from my son on my phone. No problems. And whatever anybody asked him, he was surrounded by people. No problems. He did it with a smile on his face, laughing and joking. I got into an argument with him because he immediately told me to call Frampton score and down to watch him whenever Frampton was fighting. He's like, Frampton's been done twice in the first round. But any chance of shutting up? but he was just class. Lovely guy. And you know, obviously United fans will always the transfer requests are always going to soar. Wayne Rooney, and the final analysis, when you look at what Ferguson said about him in his book, Martin, about his professionalism, and you also have to assume Ferguson's being a wee bit better as he can be. We know how he is, where he was with Roy Keane and other players that he's fallen out with. He can be quite childish. But Rooney, I just feel, and I'm sure in his heart, he feels like for anybody else, this career would be incredible. But because he was so good, I just feel like it's where he just fell a tad short on what he should have been. Couple of transfer tip-outs, Martin. Let's talk about the Depay thing first of all. Memphis Depay gone. United have put in a buyback clause into his deal. Very unusual for United to do that. Very, very rarely do they do that. It finally seems like United are getting some nous when it comes to selling players. And secured good money for me for Depay and for Schneiderlin. And as Mourinho continues to clear out Van Gaal signings.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that. We've quietly there, relatively quietly speaking, raised about 40 million quid from
which very rarely gets taken into consideration when people count how much United spend.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's we hear that time and time again. How much more are you going to spend? How much more?
Right.
Now, let's get one thing straight. By the way, if us and a who knows mid-table team were fighting out for the same player, and immediately 15-20 million gets popped on the team because we know we've got the money.
Sure.
So transfer fees, the amount Man United pay for a player as opposed to what some other clubs in the world would pay for a player, just don't even argue with me about it, because it's apples and oranges. It's complete nonsense. And so-called smaller teams arguing about how much you spend on players. Look, if you had the money, you're telling me you wouldn't go after a player. You're telling me all these clubs and all these fans of other clubs who complain the fact that we maybe, Griezmann probably going to cost us 70, 80 million if that goes through. And we'll get a load more stick about paying that much money for him. But you're telling me that them same teams and same clubs wouldn't go for the same player if it was available. So it's idiotic.
There is no more moral high ground to be taken over who spends what.
No.
The game lost its head a long time ago over transfers. So you can't turn around and say, well, we only paid 40 million, so therefore we get to take moral high ground because you paid 60. It's nonsense. It's absolutely ridiculous.
You're talking about a player in this transfer window in Robert Snodgrass who will probably move for 10, 12 million pounds. Now, I'm a big fan of Snodgrass. I think he's a good player at his level. But 10 to 12 million pounds, it's an awful lot of money, isn't it? Let's be honest. So transfer fees, transfer amounts are just arbitrary at this point for me. But having said that, we've quietly raised 40 million there without, like you say, nobody's making a fuss about how much we've raised as opposed to how much we spend. So I think we got a good deal there, really, for a player who's not featured for us, not performed for us, slight loss on the initial cost we paid for him. With the chance that if he does turn it around, we buy him back. Argument may be, why not send him out on loan then? Well, a buyback clause, at least we got guaranteed money.
Look, you get a certain amount of time to make it at United, and if you don't do it, you get moved on. United are being smart. If Depay somehow goes and gets his act together, plays exceptionally well at Lyon, Real Madrid do this. They did it with Morata. Barcelona do this. You insert buyback clauses. You get the player back at a good price. And sometimes it can be the back to sell them on again.
And it's only already an agreed price. Yeah, that buyback is already agreed. So, I don't see we don't lose in that scenario whatsoever. And if we send him out on loan, don't forget we're covering his wages too, or portion of.
Yeah. So no. Listen, it's the right move for United. He goes or breaks his leg in the first week on loan. You buy his back at Old Trafford. Sometimes you don't get too long at United. Could be that he might have turned out to be a fantastic signing, but wasn't to be. Other news, Martin. Theo Griezmann, Antoine Griezmann's brother. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you should. Not done a very good job of hiding their admiration for Manchester United. Antoine Griezmann's brother Theo is a big United fan, And Pogba has been speaking glowingly about Griezmann as well. Also scored a good goal this weekend
What's a goal?
for Atletico. And Simeone also coming out and saying, we aren't going to tie Griezmann down. If he wants to go, he can go. I would be amazed if that deal does not happen in the summer. The question is, for who? I think Rooney goes, Martin, but Martial is hanging by a thread. And it's sad to me because can you imagine an on-form Martial, Griezmann, Pogba? Now, bear in mind, I will say this, France do find it difficult to put Pogba and Griezmann in the same team. How United would do that, I don't know. But that's that, you know, with Mkhitaryan on the other wing, it's mouthwatering.
It's frightening to think about, isn't it? I mean, it's with that kind of lineup and then those kind of options, you've got to believe that this the conversion rate in front of goal, shall we say, would improve, and we start getting more from these games. You're going to start looking at then the likes of Juan Mata. Where does Mata fit into this? And I think watching Mata this weekend just shows you just why Jose thinks twice about it in the big games and has reservations. Again, now a little bit different than the other. People have asked me, is United, not tracking back again. It wasn't Juan Mata not tracking back, but it's Juan Mata not having the recovery speed to be able to track back. He followed the runner, just couldn't catch him.
I let him go.
With those amount of options, when you bring in, then if you're keeping Martial, you got Mkhitaryan coming in, you got Griezmann coming in, you're keeping Zlatan, you got Rashford, you've got Lingard, you've got Herrera, Pogba. You're all of a sudden, where does Mata fit into this?
Mata has to go,
and I love Mata, but I think Mata would be the one that would be expendable out of the few. And I know me, I love Mata. I'm a massive one. Mata
but I think it's crucial. If you're in a wide position for United, you have pace, and if you don't have pace,
he's definitely leading more towards that, because we are definitely playing quicker all the time, and he's a player that still, for me, operates way better inside than outside.
Mata is a good wee player. I like him, but if he's going to occupy a position out wide on the right, then to me he has to have more pace, because he's brilliant at time and late runs in the box. Very hard to track himself. Skillful player, is always going to get you 8 to 12 goals a season. But to me, I think his lack of pace is a problem both going forward and defending. And you saw Mourinho demands, when Rashford plays, for example, how many times have you seen Mourinho on the sideline shouting at Rashford when he runs 30, 40 yards to chase the right back? That is a must for Mourinho. So you can bet your life that Juan Mata will be taking a royal arse tune for what happened this weekend, because there's no question he was directly at fault. But when you're asking attacking players to defend, which is something that no attacking player wants to do, that nobody does it, and it's easy for them to drift mentally as players run past them. It's a vulnerability, and so for me, I think Mata will be moved on in the summer. I think Mata will go. I think Rooney goes. I think Schweinsteiger goes. The reason why those three are important, you never won't net an enormous amount of money in terms of transfer fees, Martin, but the wages that all three of those are on, because really that's where United are looking for the room. That would be massive.
I think a Januzaj permanent deal also.
Yeah, Januzaj will go too.
And he's going to be on a fair whack as well. He's probably on upwards of 100 grand.
Andres Pereira, I cannot see Pereira having a career at Manchester United. Great kid, really, really nice lad.
Looks like he's playing well and looks like he's enjoying his football right now.
Desperate,
Scored a cracking free kick this weekend as well.
Desperate to make it at United. You and I both know his rep very, 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 very well. I interviewed Andreas middle last year, towards the end of last year, I think you can still find that interview on my website, on our Beyond the Pitch website. Really, really nice kid. Very critical of Van Hal in that interview. Desperately wanted to make it at United, but he was told at the end of the season, or the start of the season, by Mourinho to go out and get experience. But again, when I look at Pereira, I think he's got a bit of matter about him, and that very skillful, but not blistering pace. And maybe that comes back to haunt him. I think United would be willing to allow him to be loaned out for another season. But Martin, I think that when United go out this summer, there's talk about Goncalo Guedes at Benfica. I haven't done any research on whether that's true or not, but exceptional young talent that he is. United are going to look to bring in players that are the finished article in these positions or close to it. Mourinho's not going to. His second season is always his best season. He's not going to want to be working with a Manchester United team that still has enormous untapped potential and possibly go for the league title in the third season. Because what we've seen, Martin, with the Premier League, if you get a team capable of consistency, you're in with a great chance. Because anything outside of Chelsea this year doesn't look like they're capable of winning the league.
No, and it's been up for grabs. It really is. Those top four places, second, third, and fourth, are still up for grabs. Tottenham looked shocking for long periods against City there. Arsenal, perennial fourth place.
Arsenal will finish second in the league of their own.
Liverpool are showing just how important Sadio Mane is to that squad. And just do not have a defence capable of mounting any kind of serious challenge. City look like they've got over that little blip, but again, they don't have a defence capable of mounting a challenge. We've defensively, and this is the disappointing thing about those stats I banged out earlier on. 8 points, eight points more from them, and we're they're in our rearview mirror. Yeah. But agreed. I mean, as far as Pereira goes, I'd love to see him get a crack. I think it's all going to depend on incomings and outgoings in the summer, whether we bring him back, whether we loan him out. If we loan him out again, then I would say that's a done deal.
Martin, when you look at the quality that City have in those areas, Silva, De Bruyne, you look at the quality that Chelsea have in those areas, Pedro, Willian, Hazard. You look at the quality Arsenal have in those areas, Ozil, Sanchez. That's the standard United need to have. And Andres Pereira is not there. You can't, Jesse Lingard isn't anywhere close to that level either. He's a squad player. I don't think Andres Pereira wants to come back to United to be a squad player. I think it's better for him to stay where he is, get a move to Spain or France or whatever. And in a development, maybe not La Liga, but maybe France, maybe back to Holland in a developmental league for another year or two. Where he's not going to be under incessant pressure, much like Depay has done. And then at 24, 25, mature into the player that is then ready for United. So it could be very possible that United will sell Andres Pereira this summer with very similar add-ons, buyback fees, buyback, the ability to buy him back, much the same way Memphis Depay has.
Yeah, and it's kind of... It's nice to see that we're actually, doing these type of things in the market now, rather than just letting all our players go on the cheap.
Dimitri Payet. Would you take Dimitri Payet?
Wouldn't touch him.
Not in a million years. What I said when we first linked United, I don't know, about 2 months ago. I said, first of all, I'd never heard of him being linked to United. Secondly, that's the last take. It's that when United went after Di Canio, 33. You were getting him at the tail end of your career, loony bin, right? But a player that would have given United something the last 6 months of that season that they wanted him would have been a good signing. Dimitri Payet, West Ham wanting 35 million, which is madness to me.
Which matters because you want 35 million for a player that you can't handle because he's so much trouble. It's not like asking for 35 million for a player that wants out because he's so far above what you have, right, and you're going to grant him a move to further his career. You're getting rid of him because he's sulking and wants to move because West Ham aren't good enough.
And also said, we had no offers for him in the summer. So if Marseille is the only team offering you 30 million for him, I'd take it, boys.
I'd take it.
Right?
He's clearly not going to be. Something's got to give. I mean, if they say he's never going to play for us again, what on earth are they keeping him for?
Anyway, yeah.
Nonsense.
Not the type of player you want at United.
No.
I've been asked about this on Twitter. People have been asking me, should United go after Dimitri Payet? Absolutely not. Not a chance. Before we've got some questions, Martin, from Twitter followers. Have you anything else to add before we get into the questions?
No, let's get to those questions.
Okay. All right, let me pull some of these up here. Is Paul Pogba undroppable? I'll leave that with you.
I don't think anybody's undroppable. But I would say at this point, you take Paul Pogba out of that midfield, who do you bring in to make that midfield better? And I think Pogba was poor last week against Liverpool. I saw people saying he had an absolute shocker yesterday. I don't think he had a shocker. I think he was still dominant, spent plenty of time on the ball. Was unlucky not to score. Good reflex save from the keeper there. But undroppable, no. Likely to be dropped? No.
When you look at Ronaldo, and for some reason he's always the benchmark that every young player gets compared with. Ronaldo didn't really start showing consistency at United until, 22, 23? Up until then, you saw the potential. You saw him look really, really good. And then I think it was when he turned 23 that was his sensational season. Pogba just turned 23. So you're talking about a really young player that has just come back to Manchester United, a different player. You know, he's just about to hit those years where potential gets realized and turns into actualities. So I just think he needs to be left alone and allowed to develop. And some people, unfortunately, hold him to this ridiculous standard that he should be coming in, pinging balls in the top corner, left and right, hat tricks here. Look, Ronaldo, when you talk about Ronaldo in Spain, the bottom half of the table, you're talking about teams up until about 18 months ago weren't getting paid. The drop-off in quality is unbelievable. It's massive. Now, Spain's top 4 or 5 teams are probably the best teams in Europe. But outside of that, the competitive balance in La Liga versus Premier League, massive difference. So I'm sure if Paul Pogba was playing for Real Madrid right now, Pogba would be sitting on double figures for goals because he'd be playing a bunch of fixtures that were meaningless. Really, the how you judge players in Spain is against Atletico Madrid, against Real Madrid, against Barcelona, Sevilla, those games that really matter. Atletico Bilbao, not Levante, not Granada. Yeah.
Well, also, how many times is he at the post in the bar? About 7.
Yeah,
something ridiculous.
I know.
So he could quite easily be sitting on double digits.
Yeah. So for me,
undroppable. No, I don't think under Jose Mourinho, I don't think anybody is undroppable. But some players are going to have a longer leash than others. Should he be dropped? Absolutely not.
Okay. If Luke Shaw is sold in the summer, who replaces him?
That's a good question. A really good question, because we would have to bring somebody in, because I don't think we have it in house right now.
No way.
We certainly don't have it in house. I'm trying to think. I don't know. That's one I've not thought about really, but I guess I should start thinking about it, because if Luke Shaw doesn't come good, then we're certainly going to need a starting player in that. We don't even need a squad player. We need somebody in there.
Okay. Yes or no to these players if they'll be sold in the summer? Darmian.
Dependent on Luke Shaw. So if Luke Shaw proves in the next 4 or 5 months that the attitude's there and the work rate's there, then yes. If he doesn't, it's Luke Shaw goes. Darmian is the heir apparent until we bring somebody else in.
Darmian, Schweinsteiger.
Yes.
We'll be going on a free, no problems if United can shift them. Fellaini.
No.
You think he stays?
I think he stays. I think Jose's a fan. I think Jose sees a role for him, and I don't think he had a bad game yesterday. The goal did come from a silly foul from him. If you wind it back a little bit, stupid foul, unnecessary foul. Then Mata loses the runner or couldn't catch the runner. But Jose seems to be a fan. I think it would take a very, very good offer for Jose to let him go. I think he sees a role for him.
Mata.
I don't think Mata goes in this summer. No, but I think he's the one that's expendable. Looking forward 18 months, 2 years, depending on who comes in, how Rashford continues to develop, and the Martial situation.
Rooney.
Yes, I think Rooney's gone. I think now Rooney has the record. I think they're going to the club. Not only will he go, I think the club will now really start entertaining offers. Where he will go, I mean, there's really only two players. I don't see him going back to Everton. I think the move for Rooney is going to be dependent on family. Does he go in and cash in for 1 or 2 years in China and make £1 million a week, which is the rumored figure? I mean, and by the way, I don't want to hear anybody bad-mouthing players who go out there and say, I'm going there for money. If any of you guys out there get a job offer where you're going to quadruple and more your wages per week, I don't care where you're sending me. Sign me up for a year, especially at the back end of my career. I could see him going to China for a year. But I could also be interesting to me to see if Beckham's franchise finally gets the green light and gets off the ground. I could see him going to Miami because he does have property in Florida.
All right, in comments.
I think Griezmann's done.
Griezmann?
I think it's done. I think behind closed it's done. I think that deal has been in the works for a year or so. And I don't know anything about this by any means, but this is my feeling. I think that deal's been in the works for some time, and I think it's inevitable that he comes in.
Semedo.
I don't know enough about that. I would say no. Not with how well defensively we've been performing for the most part. Getting fitness and consistency from Rojo and from Jones. Smalling is the big worry in that back four for me. I think he's the one that misses out.
Lindelof.
Ditto. It's strange to me. I mean, that was gathering an awful lot of pace. We both thought it was pretty much a done deal, and that's gone very, very quiet. Whether
I just said based on what was written by people who would know.
But we were both under the
United were obviously interested.
There was interest there, for sure. Not that we knew anything more, but I felt after having read things and having done some research, I thought that was a done deal. But whether they fought, like I said again, form and fitness of Rojo Jones, he seemed to really cool interest. So there's got to be there has to be a centre back coming in.
Just got sent a text on Anthony Martial, by the way.
Go on.
So, according to an exceptionally well-placed source, he was dropped for Mourinho claiming that he did not try hard enough, didn't play well enough against Liverpool, questioned his intensity, his effort. So, there you go. And that
which is strange to me because I thought he was the best player on the field for us.
I didn't. I thought he played okay. I thought against the young 18-year-old right back, he should have been putting that kid to the cleaners. But you know what, Martial is someone that has immense talent. We know that, but that is from an impeccable source. So.
Forgive me, I'm just plugging power in.
we're nearly finished. So there you go, Anthony Martial. That's the reason why he was left out. My co-host here having some technical difficulties. So
okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Neil Armstrong walked across your arse, right?
Sorry about that.
One small step for mankind. Okay. Lindelof, Semedo, Griezmann. United also looked at Serge Aurier from PSG, lad who would comfortably be available who had his issues were Larry White with Laurent Blanc.
Yep.
But my guess is this summer, Martin, you will see a right back come in. You will see another centre back come in. You will see Griezmann come in, and most likely Sol, if United can get him. Although I must say, getting Sol on top of Griezmann at Atletico Madrid will be a major task, given they have also a transfer ban.
But they're going to be reluctant to let both go, surely.
And with a possible winger, I don't think Mourinho really wants to bring in more than 4 players. But lastly, is Antonio Valencia the best right back in the world?
Current form, there's few.
Incredible.
The guy, and I know you took a bit of convincing, because you were, and rightly so. He had deficiencies defensively, in knowledge of the position, getting beaten in behind. What a year he's having. I genuinely cannot think of a player and I can't comment worldwide. I don't watch enough South American football. I can't think of another right back in Europe who's having the year he's had. And that's genuine. That's not, you take our United allegiances out of it. He's just having a wonderful year. And I think you see the confidence in him, because I saw him cross the ball 3 times with his left foot at weekend.
I saw that too.
Unbelievable.
I was like, some powerful gear here. But no. Magnificent left foot. Yeah. I think I can't remember was it Eric Peters was the Stoke left back? I think even Peters was like, did he just cross the ball with his left foot? But brilliant from Tony V. So there you folks, I want to beg, plead, borrow, please. If you're on Facebook, like the Beyond the Pitch Facebook page. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the Beyond the Pitch YouTube channel. That's how you can support the show. You can follow my co-host here, MWallwork7 on Twitter. You can follow me at Malakines or the show. All those things make a big difference, folks. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. Don't forget to also follow the Offside Trust. Brilliant work from Steve Walters and Andy Woodward as they work relentlessly hard in putting an organization together to protect children. Folks, thanks as always for watching. Thanks for the tweets. Thanks for the messages. Thanks for everything. Much, much appreciated. We will catch you again next week. Possibly we'll do something after the whole game. If not, it'll be after the Wigan game next week. Martino, hasta luego.
Cheers, mate. Real quick before we go, I just want to mention a couple of people, a couple of friends of the show who deserve a mention, who've very supportive of what we do. Stell at Honor Madness and Craig Darren at Darren86, big supporters of ours.
Yes.
Big contributors to the show. We appreciate you guys, please, and we'll try and get to as many questions next time as we did today.
And the wonderful Sally Reese as well. Sally first class, always supporting the show with the likes of Sarita and stuff. Those people who are brilliant, really, really supportive of what we do. Believe me, folks, it means a lot. And don't forget to also follow Facebook page, the Banks of the River Irwell, where is a brilliant United Facebook page where we post a lot of stuff on there. So and lastly, a big shout out to the fantastic Michael Horn, who is our technical guy who puts all these videos together, cuts them up, puts enormous amount of time into putting these together. Cheers, big man. Thanks for everything, Mike.
Cheers, Mike. Superb stuff, mate.
All right, folks. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next week. I will be back tomorrow with my Danny Higginbotham show, so don't miss that. It's a little less focused on United, a bit more on everybody else, but we'll get into some United stuff as well. So thanks very much for watching, folks.
Good night.
Bye.